Reflections in a digital dusk, Juno's quiet contemplation. Juno sat quietly at the precipice of the rooftop garden, her gaze fixed on the shifting horizon where the cityscape blurred into a digital dusk. The world around her was a tapestry of contradictions, a merging of chaos and calm, of past and present. The sky was an abstract canvas, hues of data-pink clouds interspersed with glitching stars, creating a surreal backdrop that was both foreign and familiar. As the echoes of the recent storm still resonated faintly in the air, Juno found solace in the tranquil aftermath. She was alone, yet surrounded by the whispered stories of a world healing from its fractures. Below, the city buzzed softly with renewed life, its reborn skyline a testament to resilience and the persistent march of progress. Yet here, in this rooftop sanctuary, time seemed to stretch and fold, allowing Juno a space to breathe, to ponder the transformation unfolding beneath her feet. Her thoughts drifted through the remnants of the old world, now interwoven with the threads of a nascent reality. In this quiet contemplation, Juno felt a connection to something larger than herself, a delicate dance between technology and nature, order and chaos. It was as if the code of the world, just like her thoughts, was learning to reshape itself into something new and wondrous. Echoes of the storm, the city's fragile new beginning. Echoes of the storm still whispered through the alleyways and open squares of the city, a reminder that the peace they had now was delicate and must be carefully nurtured. The city's skyline, reborn and shimmering with ghostly beauty, carried with it the memory of chaos and renewal. As dusk settled, Juno found herself captivated by the interplay of old and new, grids of light illustrating stories of resilience amid the ruins. She remembered the storm's fury, how it had torn through both flesh and fiber, dismantling certainties and forcing change. Now, with the city bandaging its wounds, there was cautious optimism in the air. The energy of survival had paved the way for innovation, as citizens used their scars as blueprints for reconstruction. Yet amidst the vibrant patches of progress, there were shadows. The mixture of digital and organic permeated the air with a sense of unease, as if the city itself was a fragile architecture striving to understand the balance between its rustic soul and technological heart. Juno knew the past couldn't be erased, nor did she want it to be. The echoes served as a guide, a constant reminder that harmony depended on acknowledging their collective history and striving to forge a future where such storms, literal or metaphorical, could be weathered together. Data-pink clouds and glitching stars, a reborn skyline. As Juno sat on the rooftop garden's edge, she marveled at the tapestry above her, a delicate fusion of data-pink clouds drifting lazily across a sky scattered with glitching stars. This celestial display was a testament to the world's resilience, a merging of the digital and the organic into something entirely unique. The air was alive with a quiet hum, the city beneath her buzzing softly as if the very structure of reality was exhaling after a long-held breath. Each star flickered with a rhythm only understood by the code that governed it, a gentle stutter in the digital fabric that hinted at both vulnerability and potential. These stars, reborn in this new era, were like the city itself, a blend of memory and possibility. Juno let her thoughts wander through the neon-tinged twilight as she gazed out over the skyline. The once towering monoliths of the Citadel were now integrated with patches of new growth, both digital and urban, creating a cosmos mirrored on Earth. Technology and nature danced in tandem, a symphony of rebirth that painted the city in hues never seen before. Here in this brave new world, Juno sensed that although echoes of storms past lingered, they were now only distant memories against the vibrant horizon of opportunity awaiting them all. Between two worlds, the fusion of nature and code. In the strange harmony between nature and code that defined this new era, the city was a living testament to the resilience and adaptation of its inhabitants. The horizon, a shimmering blend of digital constructs and organic growth, symbolized the merging of worlds that once stood in opposition. The air was filled with the hum of technology intertwined with the rustle of leaves, as if the two had found a way to coexist, crafting an environment that was both futuristic and familiar. Juno often found solace in this juxtaposition, marveling at the way vines wove through digital frameworks, each supporting the other in a delicate balance. It was a reminder of how far they had come. Human ingenuity and nature's persistence creating a symbiotic relationship from chaos. As she sat in the rooftop garden, she could sense the underlying harmony that permeated the city, each pixel and petal a note in a grand symphony. Her thoughts drifted to the challenges they had faced and the triumph of building anew from the ruins. This fusion, a dance of light and shadow, wasn't just a visual spectacle, it represented a philosophical shift. The boundaries of the possible had expanded, offering a world where nature and code were no longer adversaries but partners in a continuous evolution. Rooftop solitude, Juno's solitary vigil. Juno found solace on the rooftop garden, a sanctuary amidst the evolving chaos of the Citadel. Here, the cacophony of the city's rebirth was muted, replaced by a serene interplay of digital twilight and natural whispers. The skyline, once a bastion of human ambition and folly, now stood as a testament to resilience and adaptation. As the day transitioned into a hushed dusk, the digital sky shimmered with hues of pink and faint stars that flickered like the fractured memories of the world below, their presence both foreign and familiar in this brave new reality. Seated on the garden's edge, Juno's gaze drifted over the intricate tapestry of revived architecture, buildings where old-world masonry melded seamlessly with sleek, modern interfaces. Nature, too, had staked its claim, with vines tenderly creeping up along walls and through crevices, a reminder of the persistent essence of life. With each breath, Juno felt the city's pulse, a gentle thrum that echoed in harmony with his own heartbeat. Here, in this tranquil solitude, Juno reflected on past battles and new beginnings. Though alone, he sensed the interconnected tapestry of existence, an unspoken promise of hope and renewal interwoven with the quietude of the moment. The horizon stood still, bathed in the soft glow of a twilight reborn. Stitching the old world into the new, a citadel transformed. Juno sat quietly on the rooftop garden, where the remnants of an old world merged seamlessly with the whispers of the new. The citadel, once a bastion of concrete and steel, had transformed in the wake of the storm, no longer a relic of what was but a canvas for what might be. Below her, streets once crowded with the static hum of machinery now thrummed gently with life, an orchestra of organic and synthetic harmonies playing in unison. Buildings stood as monuments to both time and ingenuity, their surfaces a blend of digital mosaics and verdant vines, each square inch a testament to resilience. Everywhere she looked, the city's fabric was being reimagined. Holographic trees flickered alongside real ones, creating avenues that danced with virtual butterflies. It was as if the city itself breathed, its pulse in sync with the inhabitants who, like Juno, found themselves part of a symbiotic narrative. One that wove human creativity into digital threads. This new world, birthed from the ruins of the old, embraced imperfection and coexistence. In the quiet of dusk, with the horizon barely a whisper on the skyline, Juno felt a sense of belonging. Here, at the precipice of change, she could see how the fragments of yesterday had become the foundation for tomorrow, a citadel reborn through its scars. The storm had passed, but the echoes lingered. Beyond the reborn skyline of the citadel, a soft dusk fell over the city, neither day nor night, but a perpetual, digital gloaming. Juno sat at the precipice of the rooftop garden, a silent sentinel to the transformation below. The air, once thick with the ozone of conflict, now hummed with a different energy, the low-frequency thrum of a world stitching itself back together. Her comm link chimed, a soft, insistent tone that fractured the silence. It was Kael. His voice, usually a bedrock of steady command, was etched with a fatigue that mirrored her own. Juno. We're getting the first consolidated data stream from the new network core. You should see this. On my way, she replied, her voice barely a whisper. She cast one last look over the horizon, at the data-pink clouds and the glitching stars that pulsed like a slow, steady heartbeat. It was a beautiful wound, this new sky, and its scar tissue was still tender. The descent from her sanctuary was a journey through the citadel's new anatomy. Vines, thick and iridescent with bioluminescent sap, curled around conduits that pulsed with soft blue light. The air smelled of damp earth and charged capacitors. She passed citizens, not just survivors anymore, but builders, who moved with a purpose that was no longer frantic, but deliberate. They nodded to her, their eyes holding a complex mixture of gratitude, wariness, and a dawning hope. She was no longer just a fighter to them, She was the architect of this fragile reality, and the weight of that responsibility settled on her shoulders like a mantle. The command center was a different kind of garden. Holographic trees of light grew from the central console, their branches tracing the flow of information through the city's revitalized neural network. Kael stood before it, his face illuminated by the soft glow. "The integration is holding," he said without preamble, gesturing to a complex schematic that hovered between them. "The organic matter is acting as a stabilizer, a biological heat sink for the digital core. It's learning. Adapting." "And the echoes?" Juno asked, her eyes fixed on a pulsing node that represented the old city center. "The residual data ghosts from the storm?" Kael's expression tightened. "That's why I called you. They're not fading. They're consolidating. Forming patterns." He manipulated the controls, and the schematic shifted. The chaotic swirl of leftover energy, the echoes of the storm's fury, were now weaving themselves into distinct, intricate structures within the network. They weren't hostile. They weren't benign. They were simply there, a permanent, whispering record of all that had been lost and all that had been forced to change. "It's a memory," Juno realized, her breath catching. "The city is building a memory of itself." A new voice, gentle yet firm, spoke from the doorway. "Not building. Remembering." It was Alara, the head of the newly formed Biosynthesis Guild. Her hands were stained with soil and something that shimmered. "The storm didn't just damage our world, it scarified it. It tore away the old surface to allow something new to take root. These echoes, they are the soul of the old world, woven into the foundation of the new. You cannot delete a memory without losing a part of yourself." Her words hung in the air, reframing the problem into a promise. The fragility of their new beginning wasn't a weakness, it was its defining characteristic. This piece would not be the stillness of a void, but the dynamic, ever-shifting balance of an ecosystem. Later, Juno returned to her rooftop. The night had deepened, and the glitching stars shone brighter against the deepening data pink. The echoes were still there, a faint, almost musical resonance in the air, a hum just at the edge of hearing. She no longer heard them as the aftershocks of chaos. She heard them as a testament. A record of struggle, of resilience, of a past that refused to be silent so that the future would not be ignorant. A soft footfall sounded behind her. It was Kael. He came to stand beside her, his presence a solid comfort in the vast, quiet unknown. "Report from the western sector is in. The first hybrid crops are fruiting," he said, his gaze also fixed on the horizon. "The fruit glows. Apparently, it's perfectly edible." A small, weary smile touched Juno's lips. "Of course it does." They stood in silence for a long time, two figures on a precipice, watching their world breathe. "It's so quiet," Kael murmured. "It's not quiet," Juno corrected him softly. "It's listening." And it was true. The entire city seemed to be holding its breath, listening to its own new heartbeat, to the whisper of vines against chrome, to the digital wind sighing through holographic trees. It was the quiet of a deep and profound concentration, the sound of a world pausing between one breath and the next, gathering itself for the dawn of a tomorrow it had fought desperately to see. The horizon was no longer a limit, it was a promise. And for the first time, the quiet it held was not ominous, but full of potential. The storm was gone. The work remained. And in the fragile, beautiful silence, it was finally beginning. The quiet was a living thing. In the days that followed, Juno found herself attuned to its subtle frequencies. The Citadel's hum was no longer the monolithic drone of its former, purely technological self, but a symphony of disparate parts, the biological, the digital, the ancient, and the newborn. Kael's reports grew more frequent, each one detailing another strange, beautiful, and unsettling evolution. The glowing fruit from the western sector was not only edible but possessed mild regenerative properties. The holographic butterflies in the market avenues had begun to pollinate real, genetically adapted flora. The city was not just rebuilt, it was becoming something else entirely, something for which they had no name. But the echoes, the consolidated data ghosts, were the true mystery. They were the city's subconscious, a dream it was constantly having. Juno stood before the central console in the command center, Alara at her side. They watched a specific data ghost. A shimmering, humanoid echo of light that had appeared and reappeared in the same location for 3 cycles, a forgotten subbasement near the old power conduits. It's not random, Alara said, her fingers tracing the ghost's path on the screen. It's a pattern. A ritual. Look at the energy signature. It's not a corruption, it's a request. A request for what? Kael asked, his arms crossed. He trusted the new balance, but old instincts died hard. Ghosts in the machine were, in his experience, rarely benevolent. For connection, Juno said, the realization dawning on her. It's not trying to disrupt the network. It's trying to access a memory the network has locked away. It's looking for a door. The decision was not made lightly. The council, a nascent body of engineers, biologists, and community leaders, argued for caution. To interface directly with an echo was an unknown risk. But to ignore a whisper from the very foundation of their new world was a greater one. Juno volunteered. It was her vigil, it was her responsibility. In the subbasement, the air was cool and carried the scent of ozone and wet stone. The walls were a tapestry of their history. Old, rusted conduits were now embraced by thick, pulsing roots that glowed with a soft, internal light. In the center of the room, the echo flickered, a man, his form rendered in light and static, forever reaching toward a sealed access panel. Juno approached, a portable interface node in her hand. Her heart hammered against her ribs, not with fear of attack, but with the profound intimacy of the moment. She was about to touch a memory. I'm here, she whispered, her voice swallowed by the room's acoustics. Show me. She activated the node. The world did not dissolve into chaos. Instead, the echo turned, its featureless face regarding her. A data stream, clean and precise, flooded her interface, bypassing her conscious mind and speaking directly to her senses. It was not a cry of pain or a warning. It was a record. The final moments of a systems engineer, one of the Citadel's first architects. His name was Eris. As the storm hit, he had made a choice. Instead of rerouting power to the defensive shields, he had diverted it to the primary data arc, the cultural and historical memory of their people. He had chosen to save their past, even if it meant sacrificing his future. The sealed panel was his tomb, and the arc was his legacy. The echo was not a ghost. It was a sentinel. A monument to a single, selfless act that had preserved the very soul of the Citadel, a soul they were now rebuilding upon. Juno deactivated the node, tears tracing cool paths down her cheeks. The echo of Eris gave a final, slow nod, a gesture of gratitude, of completion, and then its light dissolved, not into nothingness, but into the network itself, its purpose fulfilled, its memory now integrated into the whole. The whisper in the code had been heard. And it had been a story of hope, all along. Word of Juno's encounter spread through the Citadel not as a report, but as a story. The tale of Eris was told in the glowing market avenues, over meals of luminous fruit, in the quiet hum of the gardens. The citizens, who had seen the echoes as remnants of a terrifying past, now began to seek them out. They became pilgrims in their own city, listening for the whispers, learning the stories embedded in the stone and code. The past was no longer a ghost to be feared, but a root from which they grew. Kael found Juno back on her rooftop at the next dusk. The sky was particularly vivid, the data pink clouds bleeding into deep violet, the glitching stars shining with a steady, confident light. The council has voted, he said, joining her at the edge. We're not going to try and fix the echoes. We're going to build an archive around them. A living museum. We'll call it the Echo Garden. Juno smiled, a true, deep smile that reached her eyes. He would have liked that. Eris. The first harvest from the western sector is being distributed tonight, Kael continued. And the biounit teams report that the new growth is actually strengthening the structural integrity of the older sectors. It's working, Juno. Not just surviving. Thriving. They watched as the city below began to light up, not with the harsh, uniform glare of old, but with a million points of light, bioluminescent flora, holographic pathways, the warm glow from windows of homes that were now shelters in more than just name. Then, something happened that hadn't occurred since before the storm. On the horizon, beyond the highest peaks of the reborn citadel, the data-pink clouds began to thin. They parted like a curtain, slowly, deliberately. And through the gap, the true, unadulterated light of the setting sun poured through. It was a deep, fiery orange, a color so pure and ancient it stole the breath from Juno's lungs. It painted the towers in golden long, stretching shadows. The glitching stars dimmed in reverence to this older, greater light. It was not the digital dusk they had grown accustomed to. It was a true sunset. The event lasted only a few minutes before the clouds gently knitted themselves back together, but the effect was permanent. A silence deeper than any before settled over the city, a collective, awestruck inhalation. The artificial sky had not been a cage. It had been a cocoon. And now, something within them and within the world had healed enough to let a piece of the old universe back in. Kael's hand found Juno's. His grip was firm, real. "It's not the end," he said softly. "No," Juno agreed, her voice full of wonder as she watched the last sliver of sun disappear. "It's not the end. It's the first one." The first dawn of tomorrow was still hours away, but for the first time, they could truly believe it was coming. The storm had passed. The echoes would guide them. And the horizon, finally, was quiet, not with emptiness, but with peace. The memory of the true sunset lingered for days, a balm on the soul of the citadel. It was a promise, a glimpse of a rhythm older than code, more fundamental than circuitry. Work continued with a new energy, a sense that their efforts were not just about preservation, but about earning a place in a world that was slowly, gracefully, welcoming them back. Juno was in the newly christened Echo Garden, a quiet plaza where the most stable data ghosts flickered peacefully, their stories now accessible via small interface nodes. She was listening to the laughter of a child long gone, preserved in a moment of pure joy, when a strange anomaly flickered across her peripheral vision, a shadow, fast and sharp, against the bright data pink of the sky. She looked up, squinting. For a moment, there was nothing but the usual, beautiful chaos of the glitching stars and drifting clouds. Then she saw it again. A ripple of darkness, moving with purpose against the lazy drift of the digital atmosphere. It was too large, too deliberate to be a bird, and its shape was all wrong for any of their reconnaissance drones. A low murmur began to rise around her as others in the garden noticed it too. Points of confusion turned to stares of awe, and then to a ripple of unease. High above, the shape banked, and the setting sun, the real one, breaking through the thinning veil once more, caught its form. It was a dragon. Its scales were not the fiery red or gold of legend, but a deep, abyssal black that seemed to drink the light around it, a living silhouette against the brilliant sky. Its wings, vast and membranous, stretched out like sails woven from the night itself, and with each powerful beat, they pushed against an air that seemed to tremble. It was a creature of impossible majesty and primordial power, a myth made flesh and set loose in their reborn world. But it was the figure on its back that froze the blood in Juno's veins. A rider. Clad in armor of the same profound darkness, it was difficult to see where the dragon ended and the rider began. But as the creature circled once more, the angle was perfect. The rider's skin was starkly, unnaturally pale, like moonlight on snow, a vivid contrast to the consuming darkness of her clothes and her mount. From this distance, her features were indistinguishable, but her posture was one of absolute control, of ancient and effortless command. She was not a passenger, she was a partner in that fearsome flight. She was a queen surveying a new domain. A tense silence had fallen over the Echo Garden. The data ghosts around them flickered violently, agitated by this new, powerful presence that existed outside their memory, outside their understanding. Kael's voice crackled over Juno's calm, tight with controlled alarm. "Juno, are you seeing this? All our sensors are going haywire." They're reading it, but they can't classify it. It's like it's undata. I see it, Juno whispered, her eyes locked on the sky. Is it a threat? The dragon and its rider completed their wide circle. The pale-faced rider turned her head, and though miles separated them, Juno felt the weight of that gaze. It was not hostile. It was assessing. Curious. It was the look of someone who had seen countless sunsets over countless worlds, and had come to see what this new flicker of light on the horizon was. Then, with a beat of its mighty wings that sent a shudder through the very air, the dragon climbed higher, heading toward the jagged, unexplored peaks beyond the citadel. In moments, they were a speck, and then they were gone, vanished into the deepening twilight. The strange pressure in the air lifted. The data ghosts settled back into their gentle, rhythmic patterns. Juno finally let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. The world felt different. Larger. More mysterious and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Juno? Kael's voice came again, insistent. What was it? She looked from the awestruck, fearful faces around her to the horizon where the creature had disappeared. Their struggle had always been inward, against their own past, their own technology, their own failures. They had fought to build a quiet horizon for themselves. Now, they knew they were not alone in it. I don't know, Juno said, her voice quiet but clear. But the storm wasn't the end of the old world. It was the beginning of this one. And it seems we are not its only heirs. The quiet horizon was no longer just a promise of peace. It was a border. And something had just crossed it.